So what I've set up, I've set up a key with symbols, and next to the symbol is a note to tell you what's going on. So I will send each one of you this key as a PDF document, and then when I bring your drawings in, so let's see, let's choose SIPO. So when I bring your drawing in, let's say I've got your, what have we got, your exploded view. Okay, and so then I will then pick things like, you know, if something is correct, I will use the correct line like this. And I'll say, okay, I like that. And then I'll make comments in the top here, but you'll get all these little symbols, and the symbols are related to the key. So you can just go check out what I'm saying is missing or is correct, and then you can assess your drawing. So the stuff I've marked thus far was done, I think, mostly before last week's lesson. So a lot of it will be not correct. So I'm going to ask you just to redo these drawings and then correct according to whatever symbols I've put in. Does that make sense? Well, it should. I mean,
No, definitely.
okay. So I'm not going to mark your first drawing. I'm going to just ask you to correct the drawing and submit that for marks. So that's fair on you and on me, because then I've done a lot of work of showing you what I'm doing, or you know what I find is wrong. So I don't have to do as much marking, but also then you get to get a better mark because you can just correct. I'm going to use sets file. I hope he doesn't mind. I'm going to continue with dimensioning because quite a few of you are facing this problem, and it's something I haven't really shown you how to do. So we've got this form which is essentially, you know, a lot of organic shapes with one geometric shape, but kind of a geometric thickness and a geometric bottom. Although everything is like in fact geometric, it's just that it's not. There's very few straight lines to start from, and then how does one dimension the position of the edges of this thing? Okay, so let's go across and make a drawing from part. I'm going to select my A0 size sheet. Okay. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So you know, like a lot of the parts you design are very like geometric.
Did you watch my video from last week?
I watched part of it.
Did you watch the second part?
No, I watched the first part.
Okay, watch the second part. You'll see what I deal with exactly that subject. So if you've got a pattern, okay, so that was a pattern one, but you can do the same for an object. So for instance, this one here. In fact, let's just have a look at this quickly before we start. So I think a lot of you might be making the mistake of putting in fillets where you shouldn't. If the general shape of your object is like it is here, like you know, an hourglass shape, then it doesn't make sense to make these as fillets one by one, because those are primary shapes. Okay, so what I've done here is I created a rectangle which is using construction lines, and then I drew within it. I said, okay, I want this to be 700 by 2000, and then within that I can draw my lines, but I don't put the edge radiuses in here, just these main radii. So that would be principle number one. When you draw whatever you're drawing, don't draw the smaller radii, leave them out. Okay, then I've added them in afterwards, so you can see that those fillets there, that's 4 fillets, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4 are exactly the same. And then these all-around edge fillets I just added in afterwards, after I'd done 1 or 2 other things. So if you do that, it becomes much easier in your drawing as well to do that. All right, so here is a drawing. Let's see if we can go across. Yes, okay, so I'm going to bring in a front view. No. Doesn't seem to want to cooperate. Let's try that again. Okay, so I'm going to have to go to the old-fashioned way. Seth. All right, so I replicated his drawing. I'm going to just see if this brings us in. Okay, so there's the front view. It's not the scale I want, so let's make it a much smaller scale. One is to 5. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in a right view, and I'm going to bring in a top view. By the way, if this top view doesn't come in as it should, you can always just go across to your sheet format, go to properties, and just check that the type of projection, like I'm going to change this quickly. So in this case, I'm not seeing the top. So that's a quick way to check that you're doing the right thing. Go to sheet, right click, properties, and just check first angle is selected. Okay, yeah, let's keep it like this, even though this is not ideal. So if I don't like this, if I want that as my front view instead, then I can just do that. There you go. Okay, so that's a better arrangement for me because it aligns everything better. There are two ways we could do this. I could do like a section view which traces this split line here. And in some cases I might have to do that. But the problem with doing that is you can't use a curve as a split line because that's what I'd have to do. I'd have to try and find an in-between line of these two, and it would have to be a straight line, a straight line, and a straight line. In this case, I don't really need to because this line pretty much lines up with the front of this thing. So Seth had chosen that as his datum, which was fine. And then he'd chosen a few other datums which weren't quite correct. But it's just earlier stuff, so I'm not going to worry about that. So let me go through the usual sequence. First, put in your center lines. Even though I'm pretty sure I've said before, put in your datums first. Sometimes it's easier. Let's just get that to do it. There we go. All right, so in this case, just because, let me just go back to that. Center line, it's almost impossible to get a center line to appear using curves. It just won't do it. But if you've got some straight lines, which are witness lines, then it will do it. I'm going to drag that across. The only center line I can use here, I'm going to put in the note quickly. And here, just try and associate it with the line so that, right, so I actually put it on the line and then just move it out afterwards. And that's so that if I now move the view around, you can see this one here didn't associate with the line. So I can actually just go and Control-C, click on the line, Control-V, and this should now be associated with the line. Let's just see, yeah, there we go, okay. Right, so I'm not going to use any section view to get these lines, these main lines, but because I don't need to. But it would pretty much be the same thing, and this view is large enough that I can use the view as it is. Okay, so I want to dimension 1, 2, 3, and 4 lines, and I need to get their position first. So what I'm looking for from you guys is that if you dimension something, you dimension it correctly. I'm almost happy for you to only dimension a few features on your drawing and leave the rest out, but the few that you dimension correctly. If you can do that for me, you'll get good marks. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for this procedure. What is the position of that curve, that curve, that curve, and that curve? So position is basically where does it start and where does it end in relation to a datum. So obviously, in this case, the center line is going to be my datum. So just put that datum in place. So that one. And by the way, please don't put your datums inside. Put them outside, but leave them inside the center line mark. I don't want it to be datum B. I want it to be datum A. And you only need one. You only need it in one view, in the correct view. So that's going to be my starting point. Okay, so that means I need to know where that point is and that point is first. And I need to know them in the X axis and in the Y axis. So now I need to decide what my other datum is. And Seth had decided that this was his datum. I'm going to copy that. So let's put that datum in there. Pull it out. Right. So I'm going to start from the right. I'd actually done this earlier from the left, so that's why I was referring to the left. So let's go one by one. Oh, wait, before I do that, I need to get some sort of point that connects that line to that line, any intersection line. Select the line, hold the shift button down, select the, oops, let's try it again. Select the line. Sometimes you have to be a bit patient. Select a line, go to sketch. And I know now that I'm going to need one on either side, and I'm going to need on those sides. So let me do that quickly. Just make sure you select the right lines, by the way. It doesn't like that because I selected a face. Okay, if it's tending to select a face, just go to the bottom here and let's select this filter. Then it becomes much easier. 1, 2, done. Okay, here the reason there are two lines is that this is a change of direction in this view here. You can see there's a change of direction. So it's marked that direction with two lines, but I know there's just one line. So I must select the second line. Okay, so I've got positions in place. Take the filter off. And now it's just a matter of going, went from, okay, here's another thing just before we carry on. If you've got CL, you must dimension across the center line. You can, as I showed you before, you can dimension from here to here. Not doing it. You can do this, but then you've got to actually get this dimension to reflect the full size, and then you've got to go and remove. You've got to go and remove. I forget how to do it now. You've got to remove one of these. You've got to remove the one leader, and you've still got to have the full dimension. So this dimension is still not correct, whatever you do. So I would suggest that if you've got a full view, just dimension across the full view, and then you know you're correct. So there I've got an X dimension. I now just need a Y dimension. So I've got a Y dimension. I need an X dimension. But it's because it's on the datum, it's at 0, so that's fine. So I need now one for that point. So let's go from here to, and here you just have to be patient, wait for the point to appear. But again, I need to go from there. Sorry about this. I need to go from there to there. Okay, so I've got my Y dimension and I need my X dimension, so I'm going to choose this line. Wait for it to select the right line. And that point. Okay, so I'm not going to do all of these because it might take longer than it needs to. Let's do the Y dimension while we're here. Oh dear, come on. I try to find a filter that would work just to get the endpoints, but there doesn't seem to be one. All right, pull that one out so I can see immediately that the larger one must go outside, inside. So I've got those. I may as well do all of them because I need to show you here. Pull, okay, that dimension there, if I pull it across this side, starts getting too close to this other dimension, and that becomes unreadable. And I've got space on the other side, and that's where I should go. So please do that sort of thing. Here I want an overall dimension, so I'm going to hold the shift button down, click, click. Yeah. There we go, it's doing it. Okay. And then the last one I need is this one. Okay. There we go. So now you've got the positions of the start and the end of each one of these curves. 1, 2, 3, 4. The only one I don't have is that one there. So once again, from your datum, so that is a bit tricky, just getting that point to appear. So all the position dimensions are in place. Now you can do the nice bit, which is just putting the size dimensions in. Please put the size dimension in the same place as you've put the position dimensions. In other words, don't put this dimension in on this side. Okay, that's bad. It's not bad, but it's not the best. It should be on the same side as you see the position dimensions. And that's just about it. As far as the shape goes, other than these fillets here, which you can put a note in for places, caps on. And so once that's done, if you're not entirely happy with the spacing, then just do this trick that I showed you before, which is find the dimension filter, which is this one here, and just select everything, right click, and go to align, and just say auto arrange, and you'll see SolidWorks arranges them nicely. It will actually mess up your radii, but just drag them back into place if they misbehave. So you just pull them across like this. So that they're inside the drawing and pointing to the radius. And there's this last one. All right, I hope this helps. Anytime you have curves that meet one another, you just need to dimension the start and the end of the curve, and then you can dimension the curve. Obviously, you dimension according to a datum or a starting point. I think that was it as far as this bit. So there's two other things we need to dimension here. One is to get a sections view of this, but we also want to get section view through that kind of view there. So let me just take this filter off. So let's do that, and that'll be it for today, because I'll let you guys get on with your deadline, getting on with your deadline, or meeting your deadline. So I'm going to do the same as I did last time. Draw the line in that you want as a section line. Try that again. Okay, so draw it in first, and basically where you want it to be. So I want mine to go across this whole thing, and then, oops. And then I wanted to meet these outer lines at a tangent, so be perpendicular to them. Okay, so a trick here is, once you've got this line in place, these lines, the moment you start trying to get them to align with this other piece, are going to go all over the place. So what I do is I just go to these 2 points. If I'm happy with that position of that line, and I fix them. So that now when I use these other lines, and I need to line them up, the drawing's not going to go crazy and go all over the place. Okay, so another way of lining this up perpendicular to one of these lines is just to put in a tangent line to this line. So just pull out a line, get that line and that line to be tangent to one another. So there's a tangent relationship, and often it'll do something weird like put it off to one side, and then just drag this point. Let's just made it horizontal, so take that relationship off. I might have to take that relationship off. Just drag that to when it connects with this, what do you call it, the section view line that I want to use, and then just select these two and make them tangent to one another, perpendicular to one another, and there we go. You've now set that as a perpendicular line. So that's probably easier than the way I showed you last time with a little square. Let's do it on this side quickly. So the easiest thing to do here is, you see it's actually put it in as tangent already. But if it doesn't, just draw it any old how. So I should now just be able to drag this point to where it connects with that one. Select this line, select that line, put in the perpendicular relationship. Okay, so it's broken the relationship, the tangency. So I just select the two again, put tangency in place. Cool. And then just drag this like nice and close so that it doesn't become obtrusive and get in the way. Just drag these out a little bit. Right. And then here the trick is to select all three lines that you've drawn, just in case Solidworks tries to miss one of them, and then go to View Layout, Section View. And last time I think I tried to make changes to this view beforehand. It's much easier if you just click on the view and make the changes afterwards. So remember, we could change the scale. So 1:3, for instance. And you have to click outside, it'll scale it up. And then I really don't like this mess of lines, so let's go slice selection, slice section. 10 minutes left. Okay, and then I just want to unalign this one, break alignment, pull this, whoops. Pull that across. Here I need a center line. So going to annotation, center line. If you can find two parallel lines, that'll do it. All right, there's my center line. Drag it out. Mark it as a center line. Make sure that the line highlights. And then you can just drag these out outside the line so they're nice and clear. And then I can just dimension all of my major dimensions inside here. So from here to here. And by the way, here you don't dimension any of the inside lines here. So that's an illegal dimension. Even the thickness, in something like rotomolding, you would specify that at the bottom. You wouldn't actually put the thickness in. So like that dimension is correct. And that one's correct. Okay, I like to get them to point to the thing. And if there's space inside your drawing, that's fine. But this one would not be correct. Especially on something like rotomolding, where the wall thickness will vary 5 millimeters from one place to the other, depending on where the material's been deposited. So no inside dimensions, only outside dimensions. Okay, so then I need the width of this. And here I can put in that, and can't see anything else that I really need. Okay, so I pretty much have now dimensioned what's happening inside here, because this shape here from the top, I can only use the center line as a legitimate dimension. These lines here, that line and that line and all the ones going around, those are tangent lines. They shouldn't be here. Or they shouldn't, how should I put it? They're here to show you that there's a tangent, but they shouldn't be used as dimension lines because you're not dimensioning to anything. It's just demarcating the change of plane between one plane and the other. I think that's about covers it. To reiterate, what I'm looking for is completeness of dimensions, not that you complete all the dimensions in the drawing. So if you've decided you're going to dimension this outside shape, if you can demonstrate to me that you're going about it systematically, position dimensions first, then size dimensions, and it's all in place, that's all you need to demonstrate, that you know how to do this, not that you know how to dimension every single dimension on the drawing. At the end of my last lesson, I asked the question if there were dimensions missing, and there were a couple, so I think it's just useful to go through those. I hadn't put in the depth or the height, the width, whatever you want to call it, of the surfboard. So that's this dimension here. There you go. And then I hadn't put in the dimensions for this depression, this sort of insert. And what we need here, we've already got the width, which is 420, which is great. All we need then is a position from the datum B to the 2 center points. And remember last time I said that using the center mark was not really a good idea because it's difficult to sort of control how you access those marks to make dimensions. So I'm going to put in center line. Actually, that's not going to work. I'm going to have to use a center line and just select the center. So wait till the center mark appears, and then you should be able to click on like this, drag it out. This is going to establish a relationship. One of them would be good. Actually, we only need this to be something like that. That's good enough because it's just marking the center of these radii. Let's do that again. So just wait for the little center mark to appear, which it doesn't want to do. Come on, let's try it again. There we go. Right, so there's my center mark. Let's drag it out a little bit, maybe to the same depth of that, so that it's nice and neat. Let's see if I just drag this up. This seems to be locked in, which is great. Okay, so that's all we need. So we need a dimension from here to the first one, down like that. Driven, have I got this already? Let's see. Doesn't appear so. So I'm not quite sure why this is saying it's a driven dimension, keep it driven. Just say yes, it's fine, it's just a drawing. You're not going to use it to drive anything in your model. And then one more position dimension. So we've got 2, we've got, that disappeared. Why is that? Come on, Solidworks, do what that's why. So we've got the 2 position dimensions. It's already positioned on the y-axis according to the center line. So that's 0 position. And then the x-axis position to the start is at 740. And the x-axis position from that position to here, in other words, the width of this lozenge shape is 250. So that's position position, there's an X and a Y. The X or the Y is 0, and then that's the size. There we go. And then the rest is inferred, because if that's 420, then that radius there must be 420, 210, sorry. So that's actually what you're dimensioning, but we don't want this one because we've already got that one there. And if we put in that dimension, that's redundant. We don't like redundant dimensions. We don't like repeat dimensions. So that's how you do that bit. Then, just to go back to that drawing that that sketch I'd originally referred to in the beginning, outlining this major outline, a major shape, or this sort of primary geometry. And to answer Gabriel's question, what you can do is select this view, just to see what the name is. Here it says drawing view 9. Find drawing view 9. Well, I've already got it open here. So that's drawing view 9. Open it up. Here you'll see your full feature tree on the left-hand side. If you go to the first feature, which is this primary item, and you will see the sketch is available for you to view. So if you right-click on this and you say, well, actually I've shown it already, but it would have been hidden, but I'm going to show it. And then I'm going to go to the actual feature and I'm going to hide that one. And if you do that, you'll see that line that we've just dimensioned now. So what I failed to sort of explain in the lesson was that this is what you're actually dimensioning. You're dimensioning your original sketch. Going back to the importance of original sketches, and if you've got everything positioned in that sketch, which you will have done if it's going to go black, then all those dimensions are available to you. So that's a very neat trick. You could actually dimension by doing this, exposing the sketch for scrutiny so you can see what you're doing. You would probably then be able to put in these virtual sharps using the sketch instead of using the two lines. And then once you're finished with that, you can hide that sketch and you can show the drawing again. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.